Martin. I'd like to start just by talking about, like, I heard this ad recently. I think it was Lay's. Apparently, it's this new thing where these companies will donate $1 million for a cause, just like $1 million to whoever, and it's always $1 million. Like, it's always a lot of money, but now it's specifically $1 million, and I blame David Dobrik. David Dobrik is the kind of guy who's just like, I gave my friend $1 million. Wow, and like he does this whole thing. But like, why now everyone's doing it? And it doesn't mean as much if it's $1 million. And plus, $1 million doesn't cost as much. It's not the same value as it was before. Like before, $1 million was like, oh, you're set for life. Like you win the lottery, you get $1 million. Now you get $60 million or whatever. You get one NFL player's salary, and you're set until you blow it all on meth. At least if you participate in the lottery, that's what I think you're going to do. I don't know why I'm so judgmental of people who play the lottery. They just want a better life. I want a better life. I can appreciate that. But can't we give $1 million to a good cause without making a YouTube video about it? Like, does it have to always be this big thing? Like, can't you just be nice? No. That was Rhetorical Questions with Anthony Martin. There's the plane again. I hope it crashes on Memorial Day. It's Memorial Day today when I'm recording this. And I hope that plane burns. Ooh, I have an update on Kevin. You all know Kevin. Fucking asshole. Kevin. So Kevin is one of my clients. He'll pay $700 for training with me, but won't pay the $6 banking fee. He wants me to pay the banking fee. Anyway, my point is that as we've been training together, we're probably like, he bought 16 sessions. We're like 12 sessions in. He apparently this whole time he's been, as I've been pushing him to his limits, he's been pushing me to my limits. He's been trying to find my limit. And so today, like, he usually will just say things to me, like he'll bring up, like, maybe I should have been training with Nico, who's a trainer who beat me in a boxing match. Oh, maybe I should, like, what do you think, it'd be cheaper? Do you think I would have been more fit by now? Like, 16 sessions in, and I'm not seeing very many results. And I'm like, well, how's your diet? I'm not doing it. And, well, how's it? All this stuff. And during the workout, he was just kind of like, he told me this is what he does with his little brother. He, like, punches me in, like, the elbow, like, not hard, but, like, just, like, little love taps, basically. And whatever. Still, he can say anything he wants. Just, I let it go. And then as I was standing up, he pushed me to knock me off balance. And oh, don't do that. That's like touching my face or something. That's like too personal. Like, you're robbing me of my balance. You're gonna make me fall.
I'm gonna kill you.
Like, that's how I felt. Like, my initial reaction was just like murder. I looked at him, and then he immediately asked me, like, do you only hang out with me for my money? And I took a deep breath, and we then had a conversation about boundaries. And he laughed about it because he was like, yeah, I knew I pushed you too far. But that's when he explained to me that that's what he's been trying to do. He's been trying to find how much shit I'll take from him, which is why he's my least favorite client. And now to go back to two of my favorite clients. I have a rich client with a beautiful house, beautiful view. And she never complains. She never doubts me. Love her. And then she's been with me for like almost a year now. And then I got another, off and on for a year. And then I got another new client named Miguel. He is killing it. He works with Kevin. He's killing it. He shows up on 6 hours of sleep and puts forth so much effort. I'm so proud of him. Makes me so proud as a trainer. He's such a delight. Like, some people just want to rob me Some people just want to rob me of my happiness, and he is not that guy. He is like, I'm gonna put in the work. I'm gonna get this shit done, and I love him for that. Mm. In personal news, my dad is being judgmental of my nephew for not going to a university. My nephew wants to go to a community college first. And my delicate flat earther brother couldn't handle it. It was rough. But I get where my dad's coming from. Because, I mean, I went to community college, now I'm not going to college anymore. So he wants my nephew to go somewhere where he knows he's got like a big investment. He wants him to really invest in his education. And I do too. But you can't, it's kind of asking someone for a lot to go through student loans. Like it doesn't always work out. Like my sister went to college and university and all that. And she's like 30, living at home. She was living by herself, but she moved back home so she could buy a house, and she's still paying off debt. Like it's not realistic in my opinion. We got some bigger people coming on to the bigger people. That's going to be a fat joke. I have a big wide guest coming on later. But first, I'm going to call a good friend Gordo. So Gordo is very outspoken he's a comedian. He's very outspoken on mental health. He posts a lot of stuff like, hey, if you need someone to talk to, I'm your guy. He also posts a lot about Florida. One of the first sets I saw of him, he was doing a joke about Florida. Really funny. Devilishly handsome. So handsome. I mean, not everyone thinks that, but I think he's super handsome. He kind of looks like if Heath Ledger was tan. Like a mixture between Heath Ledger and Jafar. That's what I would describe him as. Anyway, I'm going to give him a call right now. We're going to get into it.
Yo.
Hey, what's up, Gordo? You're on the podcast.
I'm good. How you doing, man?
I'm doing good. So...
Right on, brother. You still out in LA?
Yeah, I am. What about you?
Yeah. I didn't jump ship. A lot of the comics were just like, I'm going home.
Yeah.
Wherever the hell they came from.
Well, a lot of comics were paycheck to paycheck, and then they lost that paycheck and were like, I need to go back home to mommy and daddy because they're not going to pay for my rent.
No, for sure. I get it. I'm blessed that I'm not in that situation because I love California and I don't want to be in fucking Boston right now.
Are you sure you don't love Florida more?
I love Florida also, but Florida's hot, sticky, and full of mosquitoes. The women are great, though.
Yeah, I noticed you keep posting stuff about Florida women. What's up with that?
They're fantastic. Dude, they're fantastic. Absolutely incredible people. Because a Florida girl will text you stuff like, last night I smashed a can on my head, and this morning my head hurts. You don't get that out here. Like, LA girls don't do that. And that's fine. Good for them. But I like it when I get text messages like that. I'm like, all right, this girl's fun. She might lack some brain cells right now, but she's going to be a good time.
You want a girl who's hardy, like a russet potato, like just a really, really durable, ragged woman. I get it.
Okay, see, I agree with you there. I like it when a girl calls me sturdy. It's like, you're sturdy. But
Yeah.
have you ever called a girl sturdy?
Yeah, they don't like it.
They don't like it. They don't like it. It's not the same. It's a double standard on the compliment there.
Mm-hmm.
And then I tried to double down on it when she was noticeably upset, and I was like, "No, you look like you could withstand an earthquake out here." And she's not happy about that either. But I'm fucking complimenting your legs.
Yeah, I mean, I was dating a girl and I was complimenting her legs, and she kind of tightened up, and I was like, "What's up?" And she goes, "Well, one time I was seeing a guy and he said that my legs were meaty. And I was like, that's so, I would never describe your meaty thighs like that. That's so rude. Mm.
No, man.
So,
You doing any of these oh, sorry, what were you saying?
uh, well, we'll get to that, but I was gonna say, um, so, so I started this podcast around the beginning of the pandemic, or before the pandemic, but I started recording a lot more at the start of the pandemic. And what I like to ask people is, what was your initial story for the pandemic? Because for me, I right away I lost my job. I'm a personal trainer. I couldn't
Yep.
go into work, um, and that just kind of fucked me. So what's your story?
My story is I moved out to LA about a year and a half ago,
Mm-hmm.
and I was working for Freeform for a minute,
Oh,
and still am now from home, and it's been nice. I'm blessed to be in that situation. So I'm glad to have that work from home opportunity.
that's cool. So Freeform makes movies, right?
TV shows.
TV shows. My bad. For a second I think I confused it for TLC. Or what's the company that makes those horrible movies where it's always like a nice woman and an evil
Hallmark.
man? Hallmark. Yep,
Hallmark.
you already.
Hallmark is incredible, dude. I love bad movies so much.
Did you know that they made a Christian Mingle movie?
They did?
They did. It's hilarious. It's hilariously young Republican. It's like the guy in the story where she's like, someone motivates this atheist girl to get on Christian Mingle, and then at the end of the movie she converts to Christianity, and the guy that she falls in love with, like she takes him out for sushi, and he's just like, ooh, I don't eat that kind of food. and he and then like later they have a hot dog and he's like, now this is American cooking. Like it's so bad. They're like, her boss at work wears a captain's outfit and it's so awful. It's like me and my friend got into watching horrible movies together, and that was like top of the list. Bad.
Oh
Top.
man, this is great. I'm gonna watch this. I'm looking it up right now.
It's bad like The Room.
Yeah, I can tell from what you just said.
So my next question, and I met when I introduced you before I called you, I kind of brought up how you're very outspoken on social media about mental health, and I appreciate that. I appreciate that a lot. And so what I would like to ask you is, at the beginning of this pandemic, like for me, I keep myself healthy by staying active. Like try and work, I do stand up, I work out, and then as soon as the pandemic hit, I lost my job. I couldn't go to the gym and I couldn't go do stand up. So all my outlets were robbed from me. And so I just want to know what your experience was.
My experience is, like I said, like I'm blessed to live in LA, which is it's a nature gold mine. Like anywhere you drive around California, there's nature all around, and I've just been enjoying that a lot more. Because I've taken it for granted living out here. It's like, yeah, let's go to blah blah blah.
Mm-hmm.
Let's go to these canyons, these hikes. So I've just been doing a lot of those by myself and running. A lot of running, and yeah, I do the Zoom comedy shows.
Oh my god, how are those? I couldn't bring myself to do it.
Okay, so let me tell you what I do with them.
Yeah.
Is I have been using this opportunity to network and go on shows that are in different states.
Oh, that's
And
fucking
meet
smart.
comics in different states. Like I've done shows in Tallahassee, I've done shows in Texas, I've done shows in Oregon, and
Dude, I love that.
Yeah, I can't physically do that with a microphone unless like I'm touring. But I feel like with these Zoom shows, I'm able to tour in different states from my house, which is neat. That being said, Zoom shows suck, and I want them to play the freaking soft Zoom laughter that you hear at my funeral, like just on loop. Just edit out all my jokes and just play the soft, forced giggling of comics on Zoom shows at my funeral.
Oh, I knew it. I knew it was gonna be. I'm at least it finally got to the bad part. But that's brilliant, man. That's such a smart idea because now you're meeting those comics.
Yes.
Damn. How did you find these? What was your route to finding all these?
So you know how like LA has their comedy page? I would just pick a city and join their Facebook page until someone posted about a Zoom show, and then I'd send them a tape and then go on their Zoom show because they're like anybody. They'll let anybody on these shows. I know a show from my friends in Florida that they run out there, so now I'm staying in touch with my Florida comics that are out there as well, and they do a show every Sunday.
That's cool. Huh. Yeah, because I've only really been considering the fact that there are a lot of LA Zoom mics, and like it's not great. It's not.
No, dude, it's cringy. It's really cringy watching these Zoom shows and being on them, honestly. But what I get out of it is that, like you said, the connection with the other comics that I wouldn't have met otherwise. They're following me on Instagram. I'm following them on Instagram. And now I have people that if I do go to these states, when the world opens up, I can hit them up.
That's true. And they're probably going to hit you up when they come to LA. But I mean, that's the give and take. I actually found something out because you know how Flapper's been doing all these Zoom mics?
Yeah.
They're doing Zoom shows with headliners and all that. I found out through alternate media stuff, like I found out on that Smosh not only knows about what Flappers is, but they talk shit on it, like a little bit. Not like they're not like fucking Flappers, but they do rag on Flappers. Everyone rags on Flappers. Isn't that insane? Like all of LA
I think that's insane.
Yeah, that's true. They got a sewage problem.
I've got no personal beef with Flappers, that's for sure. I mean, I've had nights there that have been really weird.
Oh yeah. Oh dude, I thought I was never gonna go back to Flappers ever again after this one thing that happened during a show. So I had a main room show.
Yeah.
And like I saw the lineup, I thought it looked good. I thought there were gonna be people there, and so I invited some people, and I think 6 people showed up. 6 people showed up. Some of them brought dates, and then the main room show got canceled. They're like, "Hey, there are only 6 people in the room. We have to cancel it." And then the headliner's like, "Well, can I get time in the Yoo-Hoo room?" And they said yes. And so I thought, hey, if the headliner's getting time, maybe I can get time if I bring my 6 people to the Yoo-Hoo room. And so this is later. I had thought of this after I had already walked through I'm like already walking around and I'm talking to my friends. I'm like, hey, they might cancel the show. Like, I'm sorry. I apologize for wasting your time. I'm sorry for making you come out here for nothing. And I'm like, they're all kind of like giving me pity, and so I'm feeling like absolute shit. And so I walk around, and like there are people in the kitchen, so I go through the main room, and I'm walking around, and I'm about to go through that like flimsy door that they have.
Mm-hmm.
And so rather than push it open, I tried to like kick it open with my foot, but I kicked it too hard and it like rattled. And you'll never guess who's on the other side of that door was the manager. And the manager, who was... She's not the manager anymore, so I'm going to put her on blast. Marcella, who jumped and was like, ah! And like she freaked out and she goes, you can't do that. That's so unprofessional. And I was like, I'm sorry. I didn't mean for it to be like that. Plus, doesn't it show that like, hey, I love this shit. I'm so bummed out that I now don't get to perform and I don't get to put on a show. And then I'm hoping that the other manager is there because I don't want to talk to her. And so I go... And now that I have this plan, I'm going to bring my people to the Yoo-Hoo room, bump up that show.
Yeah, you got some leverage.
Yeah. She goes, no, because you kicked the door. So she's choosing to have the club lose, like, what is it, $20 a plate for 6 people, $120 for the Yoo-hoo room that's constantly losing money. Like, you're gonna deny me that? I was so mad because she was just doing it to spite me. And I just, I was fuming. And I bumped into, who was it? It was Paul Moomjean. I bumped into him on the way out. My friends are walking out. We're going to In-N-Out. And, like, I bump into him, and I'm like, hey, what do you think of flappers? I'm like, what do you think of flappers? And I'm just, like, just steaming. And it's not their fault that they hire bad people. It's not their fault. But it is their fault for having poor judgment and thinking that, like, this person who... I think she ended up getting into comedy, or she was already doing comedy. I don't know what her story is. I don't really give a fuck.
Yeah.
But... like, the fact that she just robbed me like that out of spite was I have yet to forgive flappers for that. I will say this though. I will say this to flappers' credit. I know a lot of comics that work there, and they're saying how great flappers is being during the pandemic and how they're taking care of comics and how they do care. So they do
I've
care.
seen a lot of posts like that.
They do care. Christina Marie Leonard was on here, and she had nothing but good things to say about flappers. And and Christina Marie Leonard's a great person. So you got to give them that credit.
For sure, for sure. Do you do, like, Zoom fitness? Is there, like, a way for you to do that?
Zoom fitness? Well, what I do when the gym's closed, I went independent as a personal trainer, and I've actually been pretty successful at that. I am full on clients. Like, I can't.
So you're doing you're going house to house.
Pretty much. Like, the way I explained it is, like, if I had one more client, I would have to charge them more money because it's not worth it for me to be getting this one extra client because I'm already seeing 5 people multiple times a week.
Yeah.
So it's just, like, it takes me about 2 hours to deal with one person. So if I'm seeing 5 people, I'm working 10 hours a day. If I'm seeing all 5 people in one day, or 6 people, I'd be working 12 hours if I'm seeing all 6 people in one day.
Dude, that's great that you still have that.
I know. I'm very fortunate that I marketed myself well and that I bumped into the correct people and they weren't broke bitches. So that's the main hurdle in this business is, like, you bump into a lot of broke bitches who are just like, I would love I'd love to train with you, but, like, you're just so expensive. But now
they try to haggle you down.
Yeah, but I'm like, it's corporate rates. Like, I can't finagle this. But because I'm independent, I can work with people. Mm-hmm. I'm gonna move on to my next question, which is,
you got it.
What's your new routine? Because I know you're a fit guy. You used to be fat. Now you're in great shape. How are you staying fit in the apocalypse?
I do at-home kettlebell workouts.
Again with the kettlebells. A lot of people have been talking about kettlebells.
I've been doing kettlebells for a while. I started doing them in my backyard in Florida. And then when I moved out here, I got a membership at LA Fitness. So I was just using the gym, but I always had the kettlebells. They were just gathering up dust, and now they're getting some love again. Yeah. And dude, I do goblet squats and I don't know the names of everything. I know that's the word called goblet squats.
What's
the at-home push-ups and running?
What's your kettlebell weight? How heavy is it?
Oh, 20 pounds.
20 pounds? Yeah, same one as me. I use a 20-pound dumbbell, which is essentially same thing.
Yeah.
But I'm fortunate to have a dumbbell that, like, works. I can just, like, flip it, and it's a kettlebell now.
And the P90X yoga DVD.
Oh, wait, the old one from, like, 10 years ago? I used to do P90X.
It's so aggro. I love it.
Dude, Tony Horton is so hilarious. Did you ever see?
Funny.
There's a bicep and back video where, like, he's going head to head against one of the other people that's working out with him, and the guy beats him at pull-ups, and he immediately stops doing pull-ups, runs towards the camera, and is like, "All right, we're gonna move on." Oh man, it's so funny.
I just love how he describes the people that he's working out with. He's like, "This is Daniel. Daniel used to be a dancer, but he still needs to keep that flexibility, don't you, Daniel? And Daniel's just like, yeah, sure, man.
He likes to use the word gristle.
Yeah.
What is that? What does he mean?
I don't know the word gristle.
Me
I'm
neither.
not a wordsmith.
There's like a few different videos where he would describe people. He's like Roger's pure gristle. Look at that, nothing but gristle. It's like what? Like isn't gristle like I always think of like the ridge of a dog's mouth. I don't know if what is he trying to say about him? Like he's gristly?
Like a bear?
Yeah. Not grizzly.
So when I see the word, I just Googled the word gristle right now.
Okay.
It's a noun. Cartilage, especially when found as tough, inedible tissue in meat.
Yeah, Roger's tough and edible. Tough
Yeah,
and
yeah.
edible Roger.
Yeah.
My
I'm gonna start saying that to girls now instead of sturdy.
Sturdy.
Just you're pure gristle.
Pure gristle. My next question is what else are you doing to do in comedy? Like what else are your efforts now that the pandemic is happening, and how are you redirecting the stand-up energy? Are you just doing the Zoom mics? Is there anything else that you've created?
So what I've noticed with comedy, for me anyway, is when I've been writing comedy, it's like, oh, this happened, this is funny, let's write this into a joke. During the pandemic, I've had so much time to get really like introspective with my comedy and like reflect on my life a lot. I'm sure a lot of other people have too.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know, but I just had like all these memories come back, and because I've had a lot of time to think and talk to old friends and catch up with people. And I've been writing a lot about my past, way more than I have when I've been doing comedy, which has all been present or future or observational. Now I'm delving more into past childhood memories, stuff like that with my jokes. But yeah, other than that, as far as what I've actually been doing, it's been Zoom shows, and I want to start making just these at-home sketches that I've seen a lot of people been doing, because some of them are really good. Like my friend Max Castillo just keeps putting out these weekly sketches that are high quality, done in his backyard or in his house, and they're really good. And that's at Max Castillo Comedy. Just beautiful comedy sketches that he's been doing. So I want to get into that as well.
Mm.
I've seen a lot of comics just been doing all these like self-made sketches, whether they're songs or just like I'm a frat bro, but also sensitive, kind of, that kind of parody energy.
Yeah. No.
Yeah.
Tommy Wakefield has gotten really into that. Like he, I loved he did like a rap called, it was like, I got a 5-inch wide. And he's talking about his dick. It's 5 inches wide.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's some good stuff happening. There's a lot of garbage, but there's a lot of good stuff.
Circumference.
So yeah,
that's great.
It's been really great having you on. I really wanted to touch on like a mental health note with you.
Yeah.
Because I don't want to dive too deep into it, but like you went through something recently, and the amount of like you give a shit. Like a big example for me of someone who doesn't give a shit was the rapper Logic. He put out that song, the suicide hotline number.
Yeah.
That song irritated the fuck out of me, because to me it sounded like a song made by a popular kid for the sad kid. You know what I mean? Like if you're looking at the world as a classroom, the popular kid is now making a song like, hey, let's give attention to the sad kid, versus like Nirvana, I would say, is like the sad kid finally speaking out of like what he's feeling. And I think that is what you're supposed to do. I think what he was doing by making that song was out of touch and outside of his realm of capability. I think when people who actually do feel suicidal or actually are struggling and they comment on it and they express themselves, that resonates. That's what resonates with people who feel that way, and that's how you connect to those people. That's how you make them feel less alone.
if you're coming at it with like, this is my opinion of what you're going through because I've personally never gone through it, then you're not going to connect with these people who are going through it. Versus like if you say, hey man, like look, I have suicidal thoughts too. Like sometimes I see tall buildings and I'm just like, well, I could jump off of that.
Yes.
Where I think people, when they think about suicide, they forget that like a lot of people, regular people, have suicidal thoughts in general because it's a control aspect. It's something that, oh, I can control this. This is something that I personally could do. Whether or not you do it or not is another story. But they exist. I have them. I know I'm never actually going to commit suicide, but to tell anyone I don't have suicidal thoughts, like, yeah, they just come into your head and they leave your head. And it's important to normalize that and say, hey, lots of people have these. And when you tell someone that, they're like, oh, I'm not alone. Like, okay, cool. It's not just me. And then you got to shift the focus to what's going on currently that's making them have these thoughts.
Yeah. Well, okay, so here's an example that I feel like I can share. Because I do also have suicidal thoughts sometimes, and I was really having a hard time recently, and it was just like tough. I wasn't feeling great, and earlier in this day, where I wasn't feeling great, my nephew, who's 18, he sat down next to me and he was asking me, he's like, "How do you keep pushing?" I'm like, "What are you talking about?" And he's like, "Well, since the pandemic's been happening, like I got 2 jobs. I'm working my ass off. I'm out here doing this podcast. He sees me working out every day. I'm pushing myself, even though the circumstances changed. What didn't change was my amount of effort that I put in." And he basically gave me a compliment on that. And he goes like, "How do you keep pushing?" And I hadn't even been thinking about that at the moment. I was down in the dumps. I was beating myself up. And that I didn't really know what to say to him, and so the conversation didn't really go anywhere. And then later that night, I was thinking about it, and I went to go see him, and I was like, "Hey, let's go for a walk. Let's just walk around the block." And I basically told him like, "Hey, you see me pushing myself and like trying to be better, but like I'm struggling. Like this is so fucking hard. Like I'm having suicidal thoughts, and it's not nice. It's not easy. It's not comfortable. It's not as black and white as it seems like, where it's just like, yeah, he just keeps going. Everything's fine. Anthony's fine. But I'm fucked up, and I'm like, that day was especially hard for me. But I felt like it was important for me to express that to him as someone who looks up to me, of like, dude, I got weaknesses. I have vulnerabilities. I'm not invincible. And sometimes I feel that way, and sometimes I flex on them. And you have to lean into how you feel. But
I feel like a lot of people present themselves as like the Instagram version of them. So like all people see is like the Instagram, because you don't post the sad shit on Instagram.
No
one does. So they're like, oh, they're good, blah blah blah. No, it's important to check on everybody that you care about right now, because no one's good. And if you are good, honestly, you're ignorant.
Yeah.
At this point, because a lot of people are suffering, and if you're good with that, then you're not a good person.
Yeah, I mean, I was driving around. I was like driving around and looking at the Comedy Store, Laugh Factory, the Improv. I was just like, I just wanted to be there and look at it. And on the way there, I was thinking like, I'm worried about people, because I drove past a bunch of homeless people, and I saw them, and like they're kind of like yelling in the street, but there are less homeless people around that area because there are less people around that area. And I'm worried about people. Like, I'm worried about my brother out in Texas. I'm worried about the people in America, people in the world. Like, this is rough.
My whole family, like a good half of my family, lives in Florida, and it's wild, dude. All the youth programs for the summer are wide open now.
Oh, fuck.
because if they get the kids out of the house, then they can take away a lot of the unemployment out there, because a lot of the unemployment goes to childcare. So getting the kids out of the house and into these programs takes people off unemployment and forces them to go back into the labor market. And yeah, stuff is getting more and more open, and my family's out there. Like, my mom's older. It's not great out there for sure. Like, the other day, a Florida girl snapped me. I posted about the Florida girls and stuff. Like, she snapped me and she goes, I just smoked too much weed to be around people. And immediately I thought, oh man, give all the Floridians too much weed.
Give all that one took me a second. I was like, yeah.
Keep them away from people, because I don't know, the government's like opening up everything pretty much every other day. Something new is opening up out there, and it's weird, dude. It's weird seeing these state by state systems and no like federal crackdown on this. Everyone's like, all right, you guys just do what you want. California, you struggle how you want to struggle. Florida, you want to live like Florida, be Florida. I don't know what to say about it more than that. It's just, in China, they'll weld your door shut so you don't leave your house.
Yeah, China. I'm very happy we're not in China, though.
Same, me too. I like that I can walk outside and go for a walk. I do like that option.
I get congested, I get sniffly, I don't want to get a Chinese MP with a gun to the back of my head, like, you'll get inside now. Anyway, I shouldn't have done that voice. We're gonna end this interview here. I gotta get on to the next guest. But this has been great. I really appreciate your openness, and everything we talked about was great. Thank you so much for coming on.
Yeah, of course, Anthony. You have a good one, man.
Wait, if there's anything you want to promote, please promote it now.
I do a Sunday show every 2 weeks at Sunday Fun Days in Tallahassee Facebook page. So if you just Google Sunday Fun Days Tallahassee.
What's your socials?
My socials, at Dr. Doolittle on Instagram.
Okay. All right.
Yep. That's what I'm going to promote, man. You stay safe out there. Dude, you got my number now. Text me whenever. I'm going to meme you stuff, too. Have a good one.
You too, man. Bye.
Bye.
Gordo's great. That was really nice. Shouldn't have done that voice, though. Someone's gonna get mad at me. Which is fine. I like when people get mad at me. A little bit. Just a little bit. I don't want people to hate me, but get a little mad at me. We're going to move on to the next guest. I feel like today's with these two guys, I feel like the main topic is going to be mental health, just because Dylan Sullivan is hilarious. He's been a killer since I can remember. He's the definition of open on stage. He is so loosey-goosey. Like, when there was the last real bright memory I have of him, I'll name two. One is being the older one. Let's start with this one. So I got a little bit personal with Dylan when I wasn't feeling too good about myself, and I had just gone through a horrible breakup, and every time I was working out at the gym, I would hear something that she said to me echo in my head, which was, "You're nothing, and you never bought me anything." And now it doesn't, like, I don't really feel much when I hear it now, or feel myself saying it. Like, right now, I feel I'm fine with it. But back then, that was, like, devastatingly crushing. Like, I was so, like, if I was any bit smaller or weaker at the gym, I would want to cry. I was killing myself. I was just a mess. And I texted Dylan, because Dylan used to be in fantastic shape. He used to look like Chris Pratt in Guardians of the Galaxy, like, just shredded. And now he's not. He's quite overweight. And so I sent him a text, and I was like, "Hey, what made you stop training?" Because, like, Like, it must. I wonder if he had the same motivation as me, and if this is all gonna backfire, because I'm like, how? What's gonna be the repercussions for this? Um, and we talked about it, and he was consoling me, and he's a really good friend. The next memory I want to bring up is I was doing a mic at Flappers, of course. Flappers is good. I like Flappers. I like Flappers. We were doing a mic at Flappers. I had to follow him, and when you follow someone who's good, there's pressure, and he's already in my head as someone who's good. So, and I wanted to try out new stuff, and it wasn't going well. And I'm looking at him, and then I decided I'm just gonna have fun doing whatever I want to do, and so I then went into something that didn't do well, but the fact that I did it made a huge impact on how I do stand up comedy now. So that being said, I'm gonna give him a call right now. Oh shit, he's got to go. He's got to go soon, so I'm calling him right now. Oh, he just sent me a text like, I gotta go soon.
Hello?
Hey, sorry, I was actually I was about to call you, and then I got sidetracked just telling stories about you. Um,
Oh, yeah?
yeah,
Is this a podcast?
this is a podcast.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. So, Dylan, you've got big bridges. You've been on Late Night with David Spade. You've got a lot of mass. Tell me, what was your initial experience at the beginning of the pandemic?
I don't know. I was in Los Angeles, and then one night I took acid and was watching the news, and then left that very night because I just had to get out, and I was scared. But ever since, I've just kind of been watching TV a lot. That's about it.
Yeah, you're
How
out
was
in a
yours?
cabin, right?
Yeah, well, I just left like a day ago, but yeah, I'd been in a cabin for like a little over 2 months.
Where was this cabin?
Like I tell you, Anthony,
Okay, fine.
it's somewhere in Colorado.
Okay,
I'll tell you that much.
figured. You've been up there with Cooper, right?
Yeah, Cooper Lyden.
Yeah, you guys started a podcast together.
We did.
And
Pork Butt Podcast.
and I don't want to put you on blast, but apparently you're a loud sleeper.
Look, I don't know about that. I think I'm a normal sleeper. I think I snore as loud as anyone else who snores. I think Cooper was kind of overreacting.
Okay. Because Cooper never overreacts.
I don't know about that. yeah, Cooper's a pretty calm guy.
So part of my introduction for you was talking about how a while back I was kind of having a hard time. I had like messaged you that I was kind of like in the gym trying to kill myself basically because like if I saw myself any bit smaller or weaker, I would like want to cry. And I had talked to you about it because you used to be in great shape. You used to be in fantastic shape. And now
Right.
you look like John Goodman.
Okay.
I mean, I love you, Dylan. Come on, don't be mad.
Yeah,
But-
no. Go ahead.
But I just wanted to know, like, was that like for your own mental health? Like, were you pushing yourself unhealthily to get into that shape?
I think I was getting a little extreme with it, but I had an injury from working out that put me on, like, kind of kept me in my apartment on crutches for like 8 months. So yeah, I think I was getting a little too in my head with it. And actually, the more fit that I got, I felt like more insecure. It just like kind of start to get I don't know, too into it sometimes.
I definitely agree with that. Like I had an ex-girlfriend that was really toxic, and as I was working out, like I would purposely like dig into the wound and think about how she said to me, "You've never bought me anything, and you're nothing." And it doesn't hurt anymore, but at the time that was devastating. At the time that was like that was really fucking painful, and that's what got me like I gained like 20 pounds in a month, but or not 1 month. I gained a lot of weight in 1 month, but it was like mostly muscle. But I was really pushing myself, and I think I'm still suffering. My back is definitely still suffering from some of the stuff I did to myself. Um, and that,
Right.
but at the same time, like that showed me how to be healthy with a person for moving on. And I'm fortunate enough to know you, who I could kind of like bounce off of, because I could see your experience with this, with basically like trying to push yourself to be in this shape that you're just not at the moment, and meaning referring to me, where like I kept looking towards what I could be and being disappointed, and
Right. It's never enough,
it's never enough. And
once you get in that mindset.
yeah, it's just I don't know. I just really appreciated you because you're one of those comics where I saw you and I was like, this guy kind of seems like me, but like a few years ahead. And me and Ahmed Al Qadri talk about this a lot, where it's just like me and Ahmed are basically the same person. We just are like different, like we just subbed out a few different experiences.
Yeah. Well, I appreciate you for saying that, and I felt the same way. I mean, like watching your comedy is. There's been times. I mean, obviously you've seen me bomb and I've seen you bomb, but there's times where I've seen you bomb and I'm like, oh, they just don't get it. Like Anthony's, you're gonna get him, man.
Thank you.
I already think you're funny, but I think as you go on, you're gonna be very funny.
You know, and you can tell Cooper this, but that's kind of like I appreciate what you said, but also when I watch Cooper, like me and Cooper started around the same time. And so Cooper to me is always been like this little brother that hates my guts. Like I see him and I want to be his friend and I like his stand up, but like he just like I remember one time we were me, Cooper and a few other people were in a group, and like as soon as I saw Cooper enter the group, I got in my head and I was just like I got to make Cooper laugh. And so I made a stupid joke, and Cooper literally just goes, "God damn it!" And he turns around and left the group. And I was just like,
Oh,
"No, no!"
That is a very good description of Cooper Line.
I just want him to love me. Please come back. But yeah,
The trick with Cooper is to show them that you hate him and that you don't think he's funny, and then they'll like you.
I gotta neg him.
Yeah, exactly. No.
Especially because when I started comedy, the cool kids, you know, was Dan Donahue, like Dan Donahue's group basically. That's who I thought the cool kids were when I started comedy. And the fact that I am where I am now and I'm not in that group, and Cooper, who hates my guts, is in that group, I'm just like, but I wanted to be your friends. Like
Do you not think that people think you're cool or something?
I just, you know, I feel like we all feel this way where it's just like everyone hates us.
Yeah, Cooper and I were actually talking about that. Like, I think most of that is just in our heads, because I felt that way a lot, especially like before I got the job and stuff like that, where I was like, oh, why these people don't think I'm funny and they don't want to hang out with me, and majority of the time is the person doesn't know you that well, you know.
Well, my main thing, like, I've wanted to hang out with you, and then I thought, like, oh, but he's the door guy at the Comedy Store. He's got a late night set. I'm younger than him, and he's not gonna want to hang out with me. Like, what do I have to offer?
Not at all, dude. I remember inviting you to that one party we had, and we all had a fun time.
Yeah.
I never want to be someone that's people feel like they can't approach, because I always hated that with like older people or people that had a little more experience. It's like it felt like they didn't want anything to have to do with you. But so I never want to be that guy. I like hanging out with everybody for the most part.
Well, it's nothing that you've done. It's just because like I'm the youngest of 8 siblings, and so growing up, like I would like to and want my older brothers to be my friends, but I was such a horribly annoying kid that like they wouldn't want to be around with me. Plus, they were much older than me. Like my closest sibling in age is 5 years older than me. My oldest
Uh,
sibling is 39 years old. He's 16 years older than me. So like
oh wow.
if I'm 5, he's 21. If I'm 13, he's 29. Like a 13-year-old and a 29-year-old should not be hanging out unless they're dating. Like that's that's a joke. That's just he's not going to want to hang out with me. What is he going to talk to me about? He's like, "Oh yeah, you get pussy this weekend?" And I'm going to be like, "Yeah."
No, I know what you mean. It's like I was youngest too. My brother's like 5 years older than me, so there was never really that like closeness that you see in like brothers that are closer in age. You know.
Yeah. I was friends with these two siblings, and like they were basically like in the exact same group of friends. And I remember we were all hanging out, and they were standing next to each other, and she was like, "Hey, can I borrow your lighter?" And he was like, "Yeah." And they were kind of giving each other shit, but like at the same time talking about like what they're gonna do when they get back home, and like, "Hey, you want to hang out, play like video games later?" And they're like, "Yeah." And just watching them interact like that, I got very envious because I was like, I've never had that relationship with my siblings. It's
But you've
get
had so many siblings.
Yeah, I mean it's getting there now. Like my closest brother in age is 5 years older than me, but he still hits me up. Like he wants to chat sometimes. And but it's still hard because like he's 28. Like he's in a different point in his life. He's trying to buy properties. I'm trying to get off the ground, man. Like he's just in a
Well, I'm 26 and I'm still trying to get off the ground too. So,
well, it
like,
happens when you're 27, so you're right there.
okay, hopefully, Jesus.
Anyway, well, I know you gotta be somewhere, so I'm gonna let you go. But thanks again for coming on, man. I really appreciate it.
Yeah, thanks for having me, Anthony. I'll talk to you soon.
Yeah. Talk to you soon. See you,
Later.
Dylan. Oh wait. Social media that you want to promote? Anything you need to promote?
I just like deactivated my social media for a little bit, so probably not. But my Twitter's still around. It's Dylan Ray Saul, or if you want to check out my set, it's just Dylan Sullivan Lights Out with David Spade. Thanks, everybody.
Don't you have a podcast you might want to promote?
Oh, of course. Yeah. Pork Butt Podcast on YouTube. If you just search in Pork Butt and then look under the channels, we're the one with like 25 subscribers. We're starting out and we don't have that many views. So if you want to check us out, that's how you find us.
Okay. All right. Thanks, Dylan. Wish you all the
Alright,
best.
thanks, Anthony.
Bye.
See ya.
I really appreciate Dylan for that. He's a pretty open guy, and I feel like I kind of pried a little bit, but he's the sweetest guy. He's got problems like we all do, but he's fantastic. He's amazing. He's funny. He's gonna be successful. He's the same way. Like I brought up Quentin Austin the other day about professionalism. Like the one thing I didn't say about Quentin Austin, and he has this, but it was just like overall raw talent. Like overall raw talent, and just like getting on stage and being funny. I don't like Quentin has raw talent. Like you see it in his writing. You see it in his stage presence. You see it in how he puts it all together. Quentin Austin is amazing, but Dylan Sullivan is amazing in his own right in terms of he doesn't always have that writing. He just sometimes will get on stage and he's bold, he's risky, he doesn't give a fuck. He's it's so I learned so much when I watch him because no one's like him. No one is like Dylan. And that I gotta say is one of my favorite things about him is that he's unapologetically himself. And it's something that I aspire to be like. So I'm going to end the podcast there. This was great. I loved it. It was so much fun, and I can't wait for the next one. Thank you. See you in the next episode.